Hey y'all, welcome back to the Laid Back Homestead. I'm Crystal and I came out this morning to do my typical morning walk through the garden, and I realized just how much things have exploded in growth. So I figured what better day than today to do the first official spring 2026 garden tour. So let's jump into the garden. First side of the garden is mainly zucchinis and some melons that are just starting to pop up. There's a rogue carrot and a volunteer peanut. Plus we do have some beans that are coming up as well. Now, row A is kind of a mixture of things. My chamomile, first time growing that. And these are all volunteer cosmos from my 8-foot Cosmo last year. I wasn't sure about leaving them in this bed, so I guess we'll see what happens there. And the tomatoes in here, they all seem to be doing okay. I am suspicious that this bed may have wilt, so I'm not really sure. These tomatoes are all growing well. Our parsley is just now going to seed. This has been in here since last spring, so I'm just letting it do its thing. Gorgeous snapdragons. This is the apple blossom variety. I have a pepper back here getting shaded out. I probably need to trim back these snapdragons in all reality, but this pepper's doing okay. Got our first jalapeno of the season. And if you remember, we planted out some purple pole beans in here, as well as a few cucumber seeds, which I only see one of our cucumber seed that came up here. But if you'll notice in this bed, I had about 2 or 3 volunteers show up from last year's compost in place. And I'm one of those people where if it shows up, it gets to stay. Now this bed has me very confused, but in a good way. This bed receives the least amount of sun out of all of the beds and was planted out at the same time as everything else. But you can see they are not struggling to grow and produce. That little guy right there was a replant tomato generic. We've got some volunteer peppers and an eggplant that does not look like it's doing so well. So I may have to swap him out. Now this bed, unfortunately, a lot of the things I had planted in this bed had mite damage. You can see I had to replant out tomato, little struggling pepper there in the middle, and another small tomato up front. But this one I didn't pull, and I'm on the fence of whether that was the right move or not. I've been treating it with the neem max that I had showed y'all in another video. I'm not sure. You can see he's still struggling. Maybe too far gone at this point, and I may just have to pull him. And the rest of row B, very similar situation. Lots of things had to be replanted. Do have another volunteer right here. Actually, several volunteers coming up. And some eggplants in the middle. Not sure how this guy will do. This bed I also suspected may have some wilt issues. So just in case, we planted out some Tahitian melons in here. The wilt shouldn't bother them. And on this side, we have more Tahitian melons. And this was the sunset runner beans that we direct sowed not that long ago. So this was our tester bed. And all that means is that it was planted out about 2 weeks before the other beds. And that was just to test. Our night temperatures to make sure that nothing would be impacted. And as you can tell, nothing has been impacted. But because these have been out longer, I'm also starting to notice the first signs of disease on them. Now, where I live, it's hot and it's humid. We're going to get leaf spot diseases. I think septoria leaf spot is really common around here. So I am going to have to come through and do a cleanup, prune out of here. If I spray anything at all, it'll probably just be a hydrogen peroxide spray, but I'm not even sure I'm worried about it just yet. I do grow everything super close together. So it's kind of just to be expected that I'm going to deal with some problems. But with that also comes a very large harvest. And as you can see, there is no shortage of tomatoes growing in this bed already. Now, I practice full-on chaos gardening, And what that means is this bed has 6 tomato plants, 3 pepper plants, 2 cucumber plants planted in it, a few purple pole beans planted in it, some oregano, as well as some nasturtiums. Happy to report that our blueberries are coming along nicely. I just have to make sure that I keep the birds happy so that they'll leave my blueberries and tomatoes alone. And as you can see, I'm actually not even completely planted out yet. I have things in various stages. Some things ready to be planted out. I still have 8 more DWC buckets I need to set up. Over here is our pots. Now, I'm trying to come up with a system for the pots. I'm thinking of having my husband build me like a little platform that they can sit on. Now, this time of year is a mix between tomatoes, peppers, and garlic. You can see bizarre mix snapdragons looking absolutely beautiful. I don't remember what this back flower is. I planted it out in the fall. Any guesses? I have some more chamomile. Now, this total chaos right here is all volunteer cucumbers. So that's why I'm really not worried about starting more cucumber seeds, because I'm going to get plenty of a harvest out of here. And I'm just going to let them grow. Just crazy. There's no trellis system over here. So they're just going to grow the way that they do. And what's even funnier is I've got volunteer cucumbers growing up out of the rocks. Now the self-watering buckets are coming along. I did have to replant this recently. I had a giant Marconi in there. Same as here. That one died. I don't know why. Sugarcane, that's more of just a hobby project. Back wall, we have more tomatoes, which go figure. But this year I swapped out and did a lot of my peppers in self-watering buckets, because last year I had an issue with mice, and I find that they leave the peppers alone a little bit more. So hopefully I'll be able to deter them this year. So my first hydroponic system, the Dutch bucket, these are all peppers on this inner ring here. We have a mixture of bell peppers and Tabascos, some poblanos here, some padrones. As you can see, some of these are getting nibbled on, and I'm not sure what is doing that actually. But they've been in here just a couple of weeks, and they are looking really well. I have not even had to fill up my reservoir since planting out. But the real star of the yard right now is this wall of tomatoes. And these peppers, if you remember when I planted these out, they were puny, absolutely puny. And this is why I call hydroponics the intensive care unit of the garden. In here, we had a really struggling habanero, and he is finally taking off. And I'm really glad about that, because that was the only one of my seeds to really come up, and he was struggling. So it's in there with a bell pepper, the Ozark. And same thing, our Scotch bonnet here also was not looking great. Now my hydroponic system is a mixture of giant slicers all the way down to the tiniest of cherries. I really wanted to put as many different varieties in here as possible to see who performs the best, because hydroponically, in my opinion, this is the best case scenario that these plants could ever have. And so far, these guys look like they are not having any problems whatsoever. And I can tell just by the health of the blossoms, we're gonna get a whole lot of really great tomatoes off of here. Look at the size of these stems. So far, some of my winners here. Garden paste. Now, I'm not too surprised about garden paste performing well and setting fruit this early. They did an amazing job in the bed last year and outperformed. The other one, this was new to me though. If you look at all of the blooms here, and there's already a ton of fruit all over it. This is banana legs. Now, my biggest concern right now in the garden is ultimately what am I going to do with this as it grows? Because let's be honest, it's going to continue to grow at least for another 2 to 3 months. And my thought process is maybe running some string from the top here in several locations and stringing it to my main garden bed and tying it up to that, because I trellis my tomatoes up and over. And ultimately that would make basically like a tomato trellis across my yard, which, I mean, that's not a bad thing. Another option up for consideration is running string from the top here to here, because the peppers are not going to get that tall. They're not going to need as much support. And we built this last year to handle some tomatoes we had growing in this system. But this year we had expanded and branched out. So I'm just trying to make use of what I have. What would you do? Or maybe I do both. Well, it's only taken me 3 weeks to get to this point of jungle, and I'm so excited to see just how much food I'm going to be able to harvest out of this backyard garden. So if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you have questions about any of the varieties I'm growing, I did do a seed starting video on all 40 varieties that I started, and so I can link that down below. But also, if you have questions about any of these varieties, just comment it down below. I plan on documenting the harvest and showcasing and highlighting who out of those 40 varieties performed the best. So if you're interested in seeing how this garden progresses along all season, I encourage you to subscribe. And until next time, stay blessed.